back for another session just after 11 o'clock, 11:01 and 32 seconds to be precise. And what have we had so far? Looks like we actually just missed out on a signal over here. The RSI dipped below. Wouldn't be going well so far in a sell trade there. Price be coming back up against us. And also previously a couple long trades here. That wouldn't have been good. Would have had to close that one out right down here. Ooh, 13 pip loss. And a long trade here, which would have got closed out at the bottom there for about 7 pips again. What about the pound CAD? Even worse. Look at these last few periods. This is outrageous. Massive buyers, sellers come in, basically do the exact mirror move, knock it back down, and here we have price bouncing up. In fact, let's take a look at that on the 1 minute chart. Yeah, you are going to get destroyed if you are trading that. And would we have had any good signals? That would have been a sell signal, which got closed out. In fact, we might have got in beforehand. I think that probably would have actually been the entry point. Well, that wouldn't have been terrible, actually. That would have been a 6 pip win in the end. Not so shabby. And the euro Australian dollar, this is actually giving us a buy signal now. I think the last period, did that finish below? It did. 59.78 for this period on the RSI. So at the moment, if it closes like this, that'll be a buy trade. Could work out for us. We'll see in about 10 minutes or so if we get the signal. So it looks like it would have more potential than this pound CAD chart this morning. That really is whipsaw city. In the meantime though, let's have a look at our economic calendar, see what events we've got on today. In the Asia session, we had New Zealand dollar trade balance coming in negative 2 billion actual against forecasts of negative 1 billion. And the ANZ business confidence, that was a miss as well, negative 13.4. Forecast was positive 2. New Zealand businesses not happy in their surveys at least about the economic development over the next 12 months. Not ideal score for them. What about in Australia? 3:30 they had CPI quarterly, 0.8% actual versus negative 0.4% forecast. Is that right, that forecast? Did the forecasters really expect a deflationary environment over the last 3 months in Australia? That's pretty poor forecasting in my opinion, if that's a true number. And into the European session, what have we had? Consumer climate from Germany in the Eurozone. Decent beat for them actually. Consumers feeling not too shabby. 0.9% actual against negative 0.4 forecast. Bravo, bravo. 9:45 French PPI month on month. Not so good. 1.7% actual. And the forecast was 0.7%. That's on a previous of 1% as well. So a 2.7% increase on the PPI in the last 2 months. Yikes, even 0.7% for this month wouldn't have been an ideal number. Still want it a bit lower than that. But 1.7, no good. Inflation concerns continue, at least in France, for a little bit. And then 10:30, 35 minutes ago, we did have the goods trade balance from Sweden. Nice win for them on that, 6.3 billion krona versus a forecast of negative 1.8 billion. No numbers until we get into the afternoon. 1 o'clock, French job seekers total. 2 o'clock, Mexican trade balance. That'll be decisive. 3 o'clock, Brazilian unemployment rate 3 months, but the PPI month on month, that'll be interesting. It's forecast at 3.49%, and I've got the feeling that it's going to be even higher than that, maybe above 4 or so. Not that I follow the Brazilian economy that closely, but I do know they have had big inflation concerns. 3:30 US dollar durable goods orders month on month and core durable good orders month on month. Then same time we've got their goods trade balance and of course retail inventories month on month. That'll be the time we'll want to be laser focused then. Likely price is going to get a big increase in volatility volume as it's just that time of day. Anyway, 3:30, 4:30 in that range. That's when we're looking at the peak. But then as we get into the evening, 5 o'clock, Bank of Canada interest rate decision and monetary policy report. Interest rates currently at 0.25%. I imagine it will stay there, but central banks are getting a little bit twitchier about it at the moment. So you never know, they might hint that they're going to raise it at a certain point down the line, dropping clues just so they don't come out of nowhere. But there's always potential for a wild card, so worth being aware of that. 5:30, oil stocks change. That shouldn't affect us, but if you are on oil, it is Wednesday, so hopefully you're aware of that. Then a real trail off into the evening with a few speeches. 6 o'clock, the Bank of Canada Monetary Policy Report press conference. 6:20, ECB President Christine Lagarde making a speech. And 7 o'clock, Bundesbank Executive Board member Bierman also making a speech. Let's get back on the charts and have a look at how they're doing. This trade entry looking pretty likely. At least price has come down at this minute. 3.5 to go. And the pound Canadian is a really bad chart. That is not one to be trading every time I look at it. New Zealand US dollar, if we had been in time for that one, Yeah, be going favourably at the moment. Whether that move is sustained, time will tell. Let's prepare ourselves for this trade entry. Looking at the last 14 periods of the Euro Australian dollar, find the lowest low, which is down here. So it's about 43 pips. That's what we're going to call it, 43. Starting the day at $8,327.99. Means at a 2% risk to this distance in this trade, we will be risking $166.56. You can see how our risk is calculated on screen. And let's buy. Set the stop loss, of course, 430 points should come. Yeah, just a little bit below the bottom, but that is absolutely fine. Makes up for the spread. And now we wait for the accelerator oscillator to flip against us, whenever that may be. Probably not very long. 3 consecutive big pouncing candles here. Doesn't make for a good move, I don't think. But hopefully it's just a retracement that comes on the red, and we see an overall trend continue before the accelerator oscillator flips. Bit of a move happening here on price. This is what we want to see. Nice push for the green on our trade. Meanwhile, you see the reverse on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. If you were in here, this would be a nice trade right now. Might even be potential for the trailing stop loss kick in if you were trading that one. That would be the high there, about 20 pips. Be getting close. Would be getting close. This is just some general contrast between the type of charts that I imagine you would want versus the type of charts that you can get. The New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and the Euro Australian dollar, the 2 charts on the flanks, those are actually making nice moves. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to continue, but you can see a sort of trend going on. Whereas if you look down the center at the Great British Pound, Canadian dollar, look at this candle already, 3 minutes, and it's plummeted back down, or it's plummeting back down. The whips are on this. I mean, in the last 2.5 hours, look at how it's bounced up and down. I would say those are the charts that you don't typically want, but if you've got a strategy for that, good on you. Just coming into 12:15, and price has come off the top quite a bit, and more than we would like to see. Hopefully a green candle comes now. Well, this type of consolidation up here rather than the reversal. If it consolidates, the accelerator oscillator eventually drifts across zero as price stays in a range. We take profit up here. We're still about $50 up at the moment, so that's pretty good. And this pound Canadian chart still absolutely wacky. Glad it hasn't given us any entry signals, because that would almost certainly be losers. Look at the accelerator oscillator for it. 4 or 5 flips there in the last 2 and a bit hours. If you were taking a 0 line crossover entry signals from that, you'd be in trouble. 1:45, and we're seeing the flip on the accelerator oscillator. Only a small flip, not a big one. The price has been coming down quite a bit. The low, in fact, almost put us into a loss. So this is a pretty crucial candle. Don't mind getting out of the trade, but would like to see a minor green candle come. Just don't let it be like yesterday where we end up taking a big loss on the last candle before we get out. 5 seconds to go, and it is coming right down to the wire. At the moment, it's looking like a loss. We're going to have to close it. There we go. It is a loss. We just missed out on profits as we see the candle come green a touch, but who knows where it's going to go from now. Probably back up into a buy signal in a couple periods. Yeah, damn, that's disappointing. That's another disappointing one where the last candle has really stuck the sword in us. At a high up here, it looked good. It looked good, $80, $90, something around that we were up by. And we were hoping for more of these kind of candles right here. Ones where it doesn't really move, just consolidates around the area. Even on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, there's been a bit of a retracement, but not as much compared to the jump down. This no good at all, this trade. So we can see we do lose $5.85 in the end. And it does seem like it is a case once again of the RSI getting us in too late and the accelerator oscillator getting us out too late. Meanwhile, still thankful that we're not in on the Great British Pound Canadian dollar. That price has not sorted itself out yet. Be interested to see if there's a breakout there. Very nearly giving us a signal in here on the Euro Australian dollar again. Just a couple periods after, and we can see the RSI up at 59 as we go into the close. Doesn't give it to us this period, but if we see a green one just like that, we could get into a buy trade somewhere around here. Something to look forward to. Eyeing up a potential signal on the Great British Pound Canadian dollar. Could still retrace. RSI around about 39 at the moment, floating up and down, 39.62 there. Let's measure out our risk just in case we've got to enter. That's the highest high up there from the last 14. Currently around about 32 pips to the stop loss. That's what we're going to go for. Our risk is calculated on screen now. Is it going to come? It does. 39.71 was the finish. Let's just double check that. Yeah, 39.71 as it jumped back above 40. Let's sell trade there. Already lost a bit of a dip there from thinking for a moment. But that is absolutely fine. Let's set that stop loss 320 points and let's trail it again. Why not? A little bit hopeful about this one, surprisingly. I know we've had a run on price already, but after this crazy range that's been happening up here, this whipsaw action, could be possible this is a genuine breakout. 2:15, the Euro Australian dollar keeps lurking on that 59 for the RSI, very nearly getting signals back in. Nothing yet though. And our Great British Pound Canadian dollar trade has retraced about half, 2/3 the amount from where it once was. Hopefully that's just a consolidation candle before a continued downward trend. Does look like the signal is going to come on the Euro Australian dollar. Quite tight on the stop loss as well. We're going to call that 19 pips towards it. Could still drop below though. It's only at 60.1. Very narrow. If the price comes back a bit, we could see that signal disappear. 3 seconds to go. Where's it going to land? It drops beneath, and in fact we don't get the signal. It finishes at 59.5. So once again we are kept out. Look at how tight the RSI is to that 60 level there. Every period we think we're going to get the signal and it just doesn't quite come. Meanwhile, we're watching our pound Canadian dollar trade get a bit destroyed at the moment. $65 down. You can see we got it around about here. Let's put the trade history on so we can see the entry. Yeah, not the worst of the start. We did get a nice run in. If you were going to take profit within 16 pips, you would have taken profit. But if you weren't, yeah, it's not looking so good for you now. And the accelerator oscillator, big green candle, might flip at this period. But if not, we will certainly see it turn at the next period. Getting ready to close down this trade on the pound CAD in about 40 seconds or so. It is a really bad loss that's going to occur. We're around about $95 at the moment. Not a good sign for the strategy, but as one bad trade closes, so another will open. We're looking over here on the left on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Everybody who trades, let me know if this is a buy trade that you would take right at the peak of this candle here, because that's what we're going in for. That's what the system is telling us to get in. It is about 34, 35 pips to the bottom there, so that is going to be what we go in for. And so first off, let's close this trade down for $95. Shocking. And now let's look at our New Zealand dollar, US dollar. It's going green a bit. We're probably already missing part of that signal, but here we go. We are in with 0.49 volume, and I guess we'll buy. Oh dearie me. Stop loss, yeah, towards the bottom there, and we'll trail that too. If this trade makes money, I'm not going to lie, I will be amazed, really amazed. That's cool though. Let's check our economic calendar for a bit of an update on what's been going on. We had the job seekers total from France back at 1 o'clock. That was 3.2 million actual job seekers against 3.49 million forecast. So a little bit of a beat there for them. Mexican trade balance negative $1.69 billion against forecast of negative $2.9 billion. All right for them. 3-month unemployment rate in Brazil 13.2% against a forecast of 13.3%. Better than the previous of 13.7 as well. And you know what? They'll be happy with this PPI. Thought it was going to come in even higher, but 0.4% they've managed there, month on month for that. Forecast at 3.49. I really thought we could have seen a breach of 4 with this one. Previous 1.89. They've managed to keep it under control, the producers. Now we've just got 12.5 minutes until the US numbers come in. Durable goods orders, core durable goods orders, trade balance, retail inventories month on month. Numbers to watch out for. We've got our numbers through. The durable goods orders month on month came in negative 0.4% versus a forecast of 0.8%. Quite a bad miss there, 1.2% less than the forecast. Meanwhile, core durable goods orders month on month up by 0.9% against the forecast, 0.4% actual against negative 0.5% forecast. Don't really know what to make of that. One pretty big miss, one pretty big beat. I guess they balance each other out. Well, certainly in terms of priority, they give a little bit more to the core durable goods orders, and that was the beat. So we'll assume that might have been good for the US dollar. Goods trade balance, negative $96 billion against a forecast of negative $88 billion. Touch of a miss there. And then we've had retail inventories month on month, actual negative 0.2 against a forecast of 0.1%. Not a lot in that one, and not a lot in those numbers in general. Canada's interest rate decision next at 5 o'clock, just over an hour's time. We'll know pretty quickly if they make any crazy decisions. But as we look on the chart, let's bear in mind this Euro Australian dollar. It's ranged for quite a while. We got out there, the end of this candle, the start of this candle, and that is the lowest close we've seen since then. Price is now trickling up a bit. It's getting towards the high of the range, and it could see us in with the RSI. You can see it floating above and below 60. Could be a close one at 12 minutes until we know about that. So we were watching the Euro Australian dollar thinking maybe we'll get a trade there. But actually the pound Canadian dollar has come through with a buy signal here. RSI up in 62. We're going to call that 53 pips. We really don't want to take this trade. This is the type of trade that you take if you want to be a bag holder, right? You wait until everybody's bought as much as they can, and then you jump in right at the higher price. We can see what's happening over on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar pair. So let's buy the market. There we go. We're in 53 pips. Hopefully shouldn't be much of a loss because of how far that trailing stop loss is. But I can't believe this system has done this to us. Yesterday, I did think it was a bit of bad luck maybe that was getting us down. But our luck hasn't even been too shabby in this. It's just been bad signals left and right and centre. Still potential for a trade on the Euro Australian dollar if that pushes above 60. Fine looks though, it's going to give us that signal above 60 on the RSI. This is our low. It's quite a tight low actually. We'll call that 25 pips. And so we can buy the market. This one could be set for a run potentially. Like this is still in a range really. This close is not beating out the high from there. So this one, not the worst signal in the world. You can see our risk calculated on screen now for it. So let's buy that. As I've just done that risk, by the way, I've noticed the volume on the pound CAD trade should have actually been at 0.39 instead of 0.49. Very risky stuff, very risky. Never happy with an unforced error though. Let's set our stop loss on this Euro Australian dollar trade before we get another one. There it is. So this is one where it could genuinely hit the stop loss. A lot of them, like the pound CAD, this seems so unlikely that it's going to get all the way down there. Hence why we can be fake upset about the volume amount. But this has a genuine chance of getting down there. And it's also got a genuine chance of potentially getting a trailing stop loss going. We'll see. We've now got buy trades on all three of these charts. Down on all of them at the moment for around about $47, $48 total. Hopefully one of them comes good for us. In case you can't tell, the accelerator oscillator, it is above zero, just about here, 0.0000380. So we won't have to close down the trade if it finishes like that. It is a positive value. Nearing in now to 5 o'clock, 10 seconds time. Let's look at these trades. I tell you what, the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, yeah, it's up a little bit for us at the moment. I'm going to start with that as a bit of good news before we move into the other two. The Great British Pound Canadian dollar, wow, that's just gone. That is the interest rate decision, and it has whipped out our stop loss there. Took, well, you saw about a second. Stop loss goes over there on the Euro Australian dollar as well. So that is two trades instantly gone as soon as 5 o'clock hits. Would have been nice if it was going the other way, like possibly this New Zealand dollar, US dollar trade might. We see that going green a bit. Yeah, you should be selling off the pound here in favour of the CAD. And it filled us so much lower than our stop loss. And this was the trade that we had the incorrect volume in. Of course it screws us. That moves so quickly. We had the stop loss at 1.70240 and it actually stopped us out at 1.70153. 9 pips. 9 pips after our stop loss, it triggered us out. At least to be fair on the Euro Aussie dollar, it was about there. Only 3 pipettes lower on that one. So no issue with the Euro Aussie dollar, apart from it being a terrible trade that turned immediately against us. We're not going to be taking these trade signals, by the way. We are finished on these two charts for the day, the pound CAD and the Euro Aussie. And so, yeah, we end up, oh man, $244 on that pound CAD trade. Would have been great if it went the other way. It's mad though, they've just said they're holding interest rates. Crazy, crazy stuff. Terrible trades. I had some faith in the Euro Aussie dollar, I did. I thought, well, it's just come out of range. It hasn't had a big move. There's potential for a big move there. We don't get it though. So let's get rid of that Euro Australian dollar. This pound CAD keeps going down. As I say, we were pretty sure this trade was going to be a loss, and similar to that Euro Aussie dollar, we were in right at the very top. This is literally the peak. And the full stop loss with the too much volume. Let's just set those aside and focus in on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, our last trade of the day. Maybe we'll be able to get some profits out of it. I didn't think so when we first started. And I still don't think so. But we are currently about $60 up. Better than being $60 down. Let's see what happens. That was appalling. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing at how bad the strategy is. And in case anyone was wondering if this big spike downward comes off the back of any change in interest rates, it doesn't. They're just held 0.25%. Quite a big red candle just coming. Surprisingly, the accelerator oscillator holding above zero. It's 6 o'clock in 5 seconds time, and we'll be closing off the trade as the accelerator oscillator is going to finish slightly beneath zero. So let's shut that down. That was a loss, a modest loss of $20.58 on a very humbling day for the strategy. That's what it's looking like on the 3 charts. If we had gotten a sell trade here on the CAD, well, we wouldn't be out of it yet, but really it was only this first period that took a nosedive. A lot of trading on the hour for the interest rate decision, and then no more movement. So that was pretty poor. The Euro Aussie dollar, yeah, it's been ranging. It did find a low. Very poor day though, very poor. 5 trades, 5 losses. It didn't even get the win like we did yesterday. And the actual losses that we took, catastrophic. $533.95 down. Just terrible. Really? One more day of trading this? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll be back for one more session to see if there are any redeeming qualities for the relatively simple strategy. Let's take it to the journal. Journal, surprisingly yesterday, it looks better than today looks. Let's scroll down. There's our trades. Didn't start too bad with that Euro Australian dollar buy trade. It was right at the end of the move though, and eventually it came down into the range and we closed it off for a $5.85 loss. That seems very reasonable compared to what we're going to get into. It was $95 on the pound CAD. That one as well didn't look terrible. It did move to our favor a bit, about 15 pips or so, so a decent profit-taking system. Might have got something out of that. But that was it. If you weren't taking profits within 15 pips, then there was no chance. There was a big reversal, 3 or 4 periods, and eventually we had to close out for a $95 loss. But again, that is small time compared to the 5 o'clock knockouts, particularly the pound CAD, $244 loss on that one. Didn't think it would be too much of an error to have a 0.49 instead of 0.39 volume. And I suppose at the end of the day, it would have been a $200 loss anyway, but still, $244, that is brutal. I was expecting them to hold the interest rates, so the fact that there was that much downward pressure against the pound, yeah, it was kind of surprising. I was hoping if we'd been about neutral on our entry price, you could expect it to flicker up and down with the increased volume. But no, it just went immediately for our stop loss. And it was so quick that we got settled 9 pips below the stop loss. So that was bad. And then the Euro Australian dollar got knocked out as well. That was at the same time, and it was nearing in on there. If we'd been around about our entry price again, probably would have got knocked out, but had a tight stop loss on it. And that's what can happen day in, day out. It is going to take a heck of a good trading day tomorrow to be able to get back these losses. $678 down. It's incredibly unlikely to happen. In fact, based off these projections from the last 2 days, we'd be more likely to finish around about $1,000 down. But hopefully we could at least maybe get back 100 or so just to try and salvage some of our dignity right at the end. Maybe. We'll be back tomorrow to find out.